So Alaska is the trip of a lifetime, but is it affordable? Really? I mean, really? You gotta say really? You gotta say really a couple of times. Say, really?
Really?
Really? Really? So when it comes to Alaska, you're gonna hear a lot of different numbers. And it's not to say that it's totally cheap or it's totally easy. We heard of somebody who was like 10 grand-ish to do a cruise up there for one person and do some activities. And, you know, it just, not just thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars if you got a family to go up there. So we thought, man, is it even affordable? Is it even doable? Can we do this in an RV? And I think it's been an advantage to do it in an RV. So we're gonna share 5 tips or things we learned that made it more affordable for us. And if you guys are dreaming of Alaska, hopefully these will be great for you too.
Our first tip would definitely be to embrace boondocking. Campsites can be extremely expensive in Alaska. Some of the most pricey we've seen.
And you wouldn't think that. I would have thought
traveling.
We're going to get Texas prices out of this. But it was...
It's definitely not the cheapest of campgrounds. But the good news is there are some amazing boondocking spots for free. It's very RV friendly to just pull off. There's tons of pull offs that are free. As long as there's no sign saying don't park there, then it's fair game. You can park there. We saw some of our most beautiful scenery just for free boondocking in Alaska and pulling off and enjoying it that way.
And it's not technically boondocking, but on the way up, you can hit Walmarts on the way up. There are also Walmarts in Alaska. So you've got a Cabela's in Anchorage, and you've got like a Walmart in Fairbanks, and so you've got...
Fred Meyer's was always
Fred Meyer's was a good one in some spots. It's super mild weather. So you've got like a high of 70 or 80. If it's above 80, Alaskans are like freaking out. So it's pretty mild weather. So that's great for boondocking. Another tip if you want to keep Alaska affordable, and this doesn't seem like it because you're spending money to do that, but it's be proactive. You don't want to wait until you're in Alaska to figure out that, oh, my tires are bad. Oh, well, I need to get, you know, this maintenance done on my vehicle or my axles, or you want to try to do everything you can before you leave. That doesn't mean you necessarily have to do an axle upgrade or major upgrades, but you at least want to make sure everything's functional. It's not a bad idea to do those things. For us, we hadn't heard of people having a whole lot of trouble out of their axles with their Airstreams, and so we just did a full tire upgrade. We got brand new tires on the Airstream, brand new tires on the van, we got brand new spares, because we knew Alaska was not the place. These long stretches and no cell signal sometimes. So by spending a little bit of money ahead of time, you can really save yourself a lot of trouble. Because we knew people that did have problems, like, I mean, it took a long time to get stuff fixed up there.
Yeah, you're going to have to wait on parts to be shipped up there. It's just not as convenient as the lower 48 to have work done.
Some other stuff as far as being proactive, you don't want Alaska to be your shakedown trip. Like if you just bought an RV or if you're just starting out with the RV, take some time, take some trips, maybe a week here, 2 weeks there. Just try to figure out your travel style. How often are you going to be boondocking versus staying in RV parks? Does everything work? Are the batteries actually charging? How long do the batteries last? So, I mean, you want to test all these things out before you go and not let Alaska be the proving grounds for this stuff.
Our next tip would be to get social. We actually thought it would be hard to connect with people in Alaska because I thought, man, Alaska's a huge state. I mean, what if we never run into anybody? I guess I just pictured being in the wilderness the whole time, or I don't know. But it was actually very easy to be social because the route of Alaska is kind of like this circle or triangle that most people follow the same route. So it was really easy to run into people. And we would definitely recommend getting social because it came in handy in lots of different ways. We saw an advantage of that when we met up with people and got to caravan. That makes it easier when you need repairs done. You've got different tools, they've got different tools, you can help each other out.
I also knew somebody who wanted to go like out on a fishing tour. and they didn't want to pay, $100, $200 to go on the tour, and they checked Craigslist, and there was like a guy, his wife didn't want him going out by himself. She wanted to be safer to go with someone, and he was just taking people out for free. So they called him up. They went with him. They had a great time. It was an individual. It was a very social experience. They gave him some fuel money for taking him out. And that saved a lot of money by doing that, by being social. Marissa had somebody give her a coupon book.
Coupon books are a really good way to save money in Alaska, especially the tours can get pricey. So the coupon books are really good to save on excursions. And a local just happened to have a book and let us go through it and pick out what we thought we could use. So it's really handy.
All from just taking the initiative, meeting people, being social. So our next tip is that timing is everything. You can save or lose a lot of money based on how, and we like to be spontaneous, and we were still spontaneous in Alaska, so it didn't take that away. But some of these tiny little things you do can actually save quite a bit of money and add up to save money in the end. One is grocery shopping. Food, restaurants, groceries, all that is more expensive in Alaska. So if you know you're going to be in Anchorage or Fairbanks or a larger city, and you're going to a place that maybe doesn't have, the Walmarts and some of the, Fred Meyer's, some things that are cheaper, stock up for a week, or maybe a little more if you can hold it while you're in those places to save money on groceries. And if you keep an eye on gas, buddy, we saw huge differences in gas, like just 10, 15 minutes outside of a big city or in a certain spot, it's not a tour, just keep an eye on it, and you can save big money on gas by using that app. You don't want to ignore shoulder season. On our way up to Alaska, we met some people coming back from Alaska. They'd already finished. They're already done. They went up there for like a month and a half during shoulder season. So typically like June, July, August is going to be insanely packed in Alaska. If maybe you try to do May and you start in the south and work your way north, or maybe you hang around just a little bit in September. You're taking a little bit more of a chance with the snow.
But you might catch the northern lights,
which
is a really cool advantage of staying just a little bit into September. But definitely be aware that you could hit some snow. It actually, down through Canada, snow started in September. Yeah. So definitely pay attention to the weather.
Well, and what you'll start noticing if you do the shoulder season is decrease in prices. Your campsites are going to be 30% less. We started, even I think mid-August, I think we started to notice some of the campgrounds had started decreasing prices for that shoulder season. So you'll save money overall. So if you only have a month to go, maybe not do July, like do something more on one of the shoulders, and you could save money by doing that. And so we didn't do boondocking the entire time we were there. We would still recharge with full hookups. But if you're going to do full hookups, try to time it where, like, if you're going from a big city to big city, maybe you're going from, or maybe Denali National Park to Anchorage, like, try to stay somewhere in the middle. If you're leaving Anchorage, don't say, well, let me stay in an RV park right around the outskirts of Anchorage. No, like, go ahead and maybe go halfway and stay somewhere, because you'll get better prices on your RV parks if it's not in a touristy area or not in a big city.
Another good tip would be to plan your splurges. You're going to run into a lot of wanting to splurge in Alaska because you do feel like you've come so far, you've dreamed of this moment forever, and you're finally here, and you don't want to pass it up, and you don't know when you'll get back because it is
all true.
it is so, it is so far away from the lower 48, and you may not be back. Definitely planning those out, because you're going to run into a lot of things you want to do, you want to see, and it can get very expensive. There's some amazing excursions in Alaska. You've got tons of plane rides and boat rides and things that you can't explore without having those vessels that can be very expensive to pay for those tours. So maybe look at those ahead of time, plan out what's most important to you, because they definitely can get pricey and add up, but you don't want to have any regrets on your Alaska excursions.
I guess for us, a couple of places maybe we splurged, or maybe if we're not careful we spent too much. The first could be the excursions Marissa's talking about, but also food. Like I was out.
We talk about food a lot.
Yeah, it's all about food. I was out, and she's pregnant. She's like, hey, give me some Chinese. I'm like, Chinese? Like, where were we? We were in Valdez, like the Chinese food capital of the world. And so, I'm like, Chinese. Is there even going to be a Chinese restaurant here? And so I did. I found a Chinese restaurant. I said, call it in, Marissa. She called it in. I don't know if you even looked at the price or what, right?
Well, I just got 2 meals and an egg roll. Maybe came back. It was $50-something.
$50-something. I was like, oh my goodness! Like, they should have came to our RV and prepped it in front of us on a grill for that. So if you don't plan that or don't watch the pricing on that, or if you got a pregnant wife that's craving certain things, I mean, you might run into some of that. But yeah, just thinking ahead, just thinking ahead a little bit on the splurges. So what did we spend in Alaska? Now this is for Canada and Alaska. This is June, July, August, September. So this is 4 months through that area, what we spent. And what I'm gonna do is I took those same 4 months from 2018 and I'm comparing those same 4 months to 2017, just to sort of give an idea. So for those 4 months, we spent $3,167 on fuel for Canada and Alaska. But for the same 4 months a year earlier, we spent about $1,000 less. We spent $2,141. So we definitely spent like $1,000 more in fuel. We were moving around, we're going a farther distance. In 2017, we did, what, North Dakota, Wyoming, and Montana, right? Primarily. So to give you an idea of what, so still some driving in 2017 as well.
So for groceries in those 4 months, we spent $3,708. And in 2017, for those 4 months, in the lower 48, we spent $3,846.
So we actually spent around the same on groceries, which groceries are more expensive. So I don't know if it was the free fish. We did caravan, and so that's an advantage of caravanning too. When you caravan, you get to share meals. There's not as much wasted. And so
I think you're just a little more careful too, because you do know that it's more expensive.
Probably, yeah.
So there would be things that I would find in a store and be like, oh, that's so much more than I'm used to paying. And so I would kind of back off a little bit. And food is definitely one of those things I know that we could save more money on. So I know some of y'all might be like, oh my goodness, that's a lot of money on
it's 4 months. I mean,
it's a lot of money on food. But
it is.
That's probably my weakest area of budgeting is food. Because we do enjoy our food a lot.
Yeah.
And speaking of food, restaurants is another category.
Yeah, there's more
for us.
food. That's not all the food. We eat even more on top of that.
We spent $911 in restaurants for those 4 months of travel in Alaska and Canada. In the lower 48 in 2017, we spent $790 eating out.
So a little bit less in the lower 48 than Alaska, which makes sense, but totally worth it. I mean, a lot of those things, you can't. It's some good food. There's some good stuff up there. I feel, groceries and restaurants, I feel like, it was pretty close to what we did in the lower 48, so I was happy with that. But this is kind of the surprising number, which we knew we were going to boondock, but lodging was really surprising, especially when you consider we were doing North Dakota and Wyoming and Montana, and we were trying to boondock when we could in 2017. In 2018, Alaska, Canada, and lodging, this is 4 months, we only spent $823. Now we did some mooch docking, we did a lot of boondocking, and when we stayed places, it was usually like a state park or a national park. I don't know, probably fewer than like 6 nights maybe. We like did an actual RV park that was maybe like $40 a night. I mean, we did not spend a whole lot staying places really. And so what's surprising, we spent $823 in 2018, and then in 2017, we spent $1,756 on lodging in the lower 48. Almost $1,000 more in lodging in 2017, even though we were trying to boondock. So we boondocked more in Alaska, we were mooch docking, and we just didn't pay for our campsites a lot. And if you don't want to pay for campsites a lot, you've got a lot of flexibility to do that. Overall numbers, so the total for Alaska, Canada, the 4 months is $8,609. And then the total for 2017 is $8,533. I'm going to say, in perspective to what we usually spend in the lower 48 as full-time RVers, I'm going to say, yeah, we did Alaska and we didn't spend any more. Now, we spent some money up front prepping to boondock, if you want to consider that, but we still have all those upgrades we did on our RV. So if you're good with especially the boondocking and taking it easy on some of the other stuff, I think it can be very affordable.
It's really neat that you can take the comfort of your home with you and get to experience all these awesome things in another country, in another state, and feel right at home.
And so if you're interested in more information on Alaska, we do have a course, lessjunkmorejourney.com/Alaska, and that'll take you to that course.
When I started researching Alaska, it was very overwhelming. There's a lot of information. So we tried to bundle everything we learned along the way in our research and put it in one easy place for you guys, and hope you find it really helpful if you're looking into an Alaska trip yourself.
That's Alaska for us. Totally awesome experience. Hope for you guys, if you get to do it one day or if you've already done it, share your thoughts with it. Totally worth it. Totally affordable, I feel like. Until next time, catch you guys later. What'd you say, Hensley?
This is the best adventure ever.
Yeah, it is.